And we are live. Hi, guys. I'm Mike. This is F1 Fanatics, and welcome back. I'll try portrait. I think that's probably oh, well locked in from there. I'll try and get the live stream back on the live stream on the phone. Lewis Hamilton wins another Spanish Grand Prix in probably another kind of emphasis on the Spanish Grand Prix. It was another race, but it wasn't probably the most thrilling and exciting race in terms of the ones that we have been spoiled with this season so far. But Lewis Hamilton wins, Max Verstappen in P2, and Valtteri Bottas completes the podium for today. Yeah, it very much. I think early doors we saw with Lewis Hamilton, Paul Douglas, what a great race. Yeah, I think that's where it kind of comes in on that one. Look, there were some good moments from within it. There was some midfield action. The start was actually very good. Max Verstappen got a great start. Lance Stroll got a great start, squeezing Valtteri Bottas out. Max coming up into P2 and stayed there for the rest of the race. Lance Stroll got P3 and overtaken by Valtteri Bottas, who dropped down to P4 later on. Alex Albon, a bit unlucky today, suffered suffered from a bad strategy call from there. Infinite TK, where's the Red Bull Challenge now? Yeah, no one. Hi, David Xavier, welcome there. It was exciting, and then the race started. Probably sums that up well, Josh. No, look, to try and find some positives from it, unfortunately, there was some good on-track action between Charles Leclerc and Valtteri Bottas, and then Charles Leclerc's engine seemed to die on him around about the middle of the race, actually, just after the first round of pit stops for the Ferraris. It seemed weird. Got the car going, but then later had to retire from the car from the race. So that was a struggle on that one. Sergio Perez made the one-stop work, finishing in P4. A very good, impressive return for Perez there. But I think with the 5-second penalty that he received for ignoring blue flags, that he actually moves down from there. Yeah, it was an electrical issue for Charles with his engine. It just died and cut out, and then obviously, was a bit of a poor state from there. But a lot of people think with the circuit to Catalonia, maybe it shouldn't be part of the current. John T. James watching the snooker final was more interesting. Oh dear. Go from here. Yeah, Perez was P5 with that penalty. Go from there. That penalty for Checo was harsh. Should take away from Lance's P4 though. Look, Lance drove a solid race. The Racing Points did a solid job. Alex Albon got stuffed up by strategy and just never really made it work. Had to pit, got stuck in traffic and gone from there. Carlos Sainz had a very strong performance, made his strategy work, went soft sods. Went soft, medium, did a good job on that. Vettel made the one-stop strategy work on his Ferrari, was very upset on the team radio at Ferrari in terms of the lack of communication. Certainly wasn't the smoothest operating system, the Ferraris and, Vettel and the Ferrari team wall. But that was probably one of the highlights of the race. Max Verstappen in his first stint telling his team that the tyres were dead, them telling him about the wind and basically going, why are you telling me about the wind? My tyres are dead. And it just, when you're talking about radio messages as the highlight of a race, it probably sums up the quality of the overtaking in terms of there. And Circuit to Catalonia, it mucks up there. Liam talks F1, Ballfest. Also, did you see the crashes in the motorbikes? No, I didn't actually. Ferrari strategists and stupid. Abe, welcome to chat. Ferrari strategists are stupid. They can't tell him whether they want a one-stop. Aditya Singh, Ferrari really tried to make Seb look bad. They even ignored him when he asked what pace he should go for. It really just looks like a relationship that is ending really badly for Sebastian and Ferrari, but it has to be said, it was a fantastic drive for Sebastian Vettel. Definitely one of my drivers of the day, that's for sure. Hi JB, welcome to the chat. What was your thoughts on the race? Actually thought it was a fairly interesting race with strategy and stuff. Nothing great but decent. Look, I thought obviously it going 2 stops, it's another positive, I would say, for 2 stops. It was really interesting actually in the rest of the field. Teams being on different tyre strategies, trying out, well, some obviously trying out a 1 stop, majority going 2 stops, being on different tyre compounds at different times. That certainly was an interesting element on it, but I suppose when Lewis literally just cruised it always kind of leaves a bit of a flat moment, especially after last week. But I suppose it probably brings the grounding all the way back down to earth. That it ain't going to be anything more than Lewis Hamilton. Look, we still got a lot of tracks this season. Circuit de Catalunya is always a bit of a predictable race because well, yeah, it's always a predictable race because we have so much data there and so much testing there over the course of the winter, and it's literally the same track. And other than turn one, from the DRS zone into turn one, there isn't really an overtaking spot. They need to look and see if they can get an overtaking spot somewhere in sector 3 to change the track if they're going to keep it here. Otherwise, it's just difficult. The cars are too big to kind of really have some strong races there, certainly there. Fitzianti, great effort from the Alphas today. Yeah, where did the Alphas finish in the end, actually? Reminds me in terms of that. But Kimi certainly was having a pretty good race as things went. Things going along. The Williams race pace just wasn't there. Magnussen and Grosjean both struggled actually with race pace. There'll be difference pointing on there. Mike, do you think if Spain went back to the original setup, it would be more interesting? Yes, because those last chicanes that have been introduced are awful. They add nothing. They are literally there for testing in terms of to see what car movements is for quick chicane. It always means that the trailing car is difficult to kind of catch up, especially on any safety car restarts. And we didn't actually have that. P14 and P16. Thank you, Fitzianti, for the Alphas. Yeah, no, very good performance for the Alfa Romeos, considering what a poor season they've been having. So to build on that as a positive result, yes, definitely definitely positive for the Alfa Romeo. So thanks for picking that up as well. Red Bull screwed up Albon's race with the early strategy, but proves how Albon's qualifying can hinder his race. Yeah, absolutely. I think what you've got to say is with Alex Albon, he got unlucky at the start because he had a very good start and he would have been able to get past he'd made the place on Perez, but with Bottas's poor start and coming across onto the line that Albon was, he had to kind of brake hard. But Albon, his teammate again is splitting the Mercedes, and he didn't have the pace. He wasn't at any point on the back of Perez. So that would be my worrying thing. And because he wasn't able to get ahead of Perez and, to make those tyres last longer, although the Red Bulls today seemed like they were very hard on the soft compounds, both drivers did struggle on the soft. So maybe it can't be too harsh on Albon there. But he wasn't able to find performance to get past there. But yeah, he was a little bit unlucky because he got stuffed in strategy on the hard compounds. People on the softer compounds, and not struggled, but were able to get ahead of Albon. And yeah, it was difficult. Sam O'Gara, sorry, just woke up. What did I miss? Not much, Sam. Not much at all. But I think you probably, I was obviously watching the F3 and F2 races earlier with Josh and Mark, and they were a bit of a snooze fest, both of them, in terms of DRS trains. So that probably summed things up, really, to be honest, with if they, I think probably covering the order, if they were struggling on that front, it is going from there. My fantasy team was awesome. Hamilton, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Perez, Stroll, Turbo, Mercedes. Yeah, that would probably be a very good fantasy team on that one. But guys, I'll leave it up on chat. Is there anything particular going from there? I got 6 hours sleeps to watch F3 and I regret everything. Oh dear, Sam, I do apologise. But the positive is next time out we are at Spa, and Spa is and Monza, they're classic circuits on the F1, and the racing should be a lot better. Unless Red Bull can do something drastically, I will expect Hamilton to comfortably win both of those races. But I would say that Valtteri, Bottas, and Verstappen might be the interesting fight at the start of the Grand Prix. In terms of everyone else, I think it's probably going to be close, and we'll see a lot more action. Obviously, the Kemmel Straight going into turn, is it 4? I think it is. It is something there. No, I didn't see the Moto 2 incident. A lot of people have been saying that it's been quite bad. Obviously, with those involved, I hope both are okay. Goes from there. I think Ferrari should run only one car in races. Yeah, it means that can only focus on one strategy. Although they tried their best to kind of stitch up Sebastian on that front. Certainly was disappointing, I would say, on that front. But yeah, I said Alpha's good. Haas, Williams, about what we expected. AlphaTauri's actually, got to say, had pretty good races. Gasly was pretty much on the back of Albon at the end of the race and got into the points. I think their Kvyat drove a pretty solid race considering it was just difficult. I think, yeah, I am struggling today with words because look, there was interesting strategy. There was interesting some on-track battles. The Charles Norris on-track battle was good. Carlos Sainz and Alexander Albon was good defending there. Stroll had some good defending on Valtteri Bottas in the early stages of the race. There was some good defending and attacking, but I suppose overall there wasn't too many meaningful. And even with the one stops at the end, there wasn't any. There wasn't any kind of too many meaningful there. Perez 5-second penalty worked perfectly for my fantasy team. Put him behind Stroll and Turbo. Absolutely. Did work heavily in favour of there. Seb should be the head strategist at Ferrari. I mean, the races that Sebastian has done well, which has been Circuit to Catalonia and Hungary, he has been in control of his strategy compared to the team. So probably not the worst thing in the world. And going from there, yes, actually, that's a point to mention. The elusive rain that was mentioned with maybe coming from lap 50 onwards. There was some dark clouds, which actually I think probably cooled the temperature. And with the cooler temperature, it was still warm, but probably played into Mercedes' hands a little bit more, certainly on that front, especially on Lewis Hamilton goes from there. But do we say, guys, today that Valtteri Bottas's title challenge is dead? Do we go as far as that? I think that's certainly he just he struggles to overtake and get the positions when he needs to. Lost out on the start. Sorry, for fantasy double for Fitzinati. For fantasy double racing point for Spa or Perez and Gasly. Probably still double racing point. Probably is quite a good strategy as it goes from there. Bottas's championship was dead on arrival from Josh. Probably harsh, but probably a fair point. Certainly on that front. Difficult point as it goes on from there. Valtteri 3.0 challenge was dead after three races. As soon as he kind of got beaten in a race by Max Verstappen, it goes from there. Bottas just playing the number 2 driver. That was clear at the British Grand Prix start. Absolutely jaunty. He fails to offer a championship battle. And I think that's probably, people still had issues with the Mercedes dominance between 2014 and 16. But at least Rosberg was fighting Lewis Hamilton. There was intrigue, there was interest, what's going to happen. Although Lewis, majority of the time, had the beating of Nico Rosberg, you also felt that, Nico could challenge Lewis. they could fight each other, and it could be interesting on that front. With Valtteri Bottas, it just makes, the championship mundane because he offers nothing. Grosjean has a good race. Didn't he get a penalty? I'm not sure if Grosjean did have a good race. He had that kind of fight with Giovinazzi, and Raikkonen wasn't best pleased with him either. Go from there. I feel as though Bottas has lost confidence with Hungary, Britain, and 70th anniversary. Didn't go his way at all. Yeah, you can say with Bottas that the luck hasn't gone his way, but I always kind of go, you make your own luck. And Valtteri Bottas in kind of his F1 debate show coming in. Wow, what a race. Best race of the decade. Thank you for that, whoever that is, Jordan and Lyle. It's certainly on... Oh, God, I can't take that one seriously. But maybe Bottas has lost confidence. But yeah, like Jonty said, he's got to fight for things. You kind of make your own luck. And when he has such a pathetic... Lewis Hamilton doesn't give Valtteri Bottas many sniffs at something. And when he had turn 1 in the British Grand Prix, when they were going side by sides and Bottas had the inside line and he just kind of yielded the position, that tells you all you need to know about Valtteri Bottas. And it may be harsh, but I think that's where people get disappointed. No one really talked about Sainz this race. Outshone Norris greatly. Yeah, Carlos Sainz, best race of the season so far. Absolutely. Out-qualified Norris, outdrove Norris in the race, went soft, medium, made his strategy work, and, managed to finish ahead of Albon and Sebastian Vettel at the end. Was fantastic. There was a 10-lap period where there were a few overtakes, and that was good. Yeah, the middle of the race, I think it was maybe after the first round of pit stops, or second round of pit stops. That was an interesting part of the race, certainly, for sure. It wasn't the worst race in the world. You'd probably actually say, in terms of on-track action, that the British Grand Prix was probably, for the majority of the race, worse than that Spanish Grand Prix. We just had, we just had the tyre punctures at the end of it that kind of made it exciting, which is obviously JB's brought up with going Britain. He outraced him until puncture as well. I think Britain and the Spanish Grand Prix. I'd expect Carlos Sainz to do well in his home Grand Prix, to be honest. He generally is pretty go from there. I had to mega Max for that race. Yeah, probably not the best mega for Max in the end, certainly on that front. But yeah, no, guys, on that. Well, I was kind of feeling a bit like the qualifying live reaction today. It's probably, I know we usually chat for around about an hour or so, but it's probably a struggle more, and probably looking ahead to the next round of races with Spa, Monza, and Mugello, and hopefully going from there. But yeah, any discussions in the chat for you guys that you saw from the race and want us to kind of talk about from today's race? I think Max outscored Lewis this race in fantasy, not as much as they both got in the 70th anniversary, but was a decent pick. Yeah, that's why I went for Max this weekend with that race streak. I still think making a position and getting that 10-point race bonus streak this week definitely helped out with Max Verstappen. Nice to see fire from Kimi. Yeah, it was, actually. Kimi's had a very good weekend. I think one of the performers of the weekend, actually qualifying, getting into Q2 and qualifying P14 was impressive. And did well to get P14 in the race. I do think, actually, Red Bull, as much as they bossed the strategy last week in terms of qualifying on the alternate strategy, I do think it was disappointing that, they didn't go for the medium compounds in Q2 yesterday. I think that would have been interesting and might have offered something. I think Lewis still was probably too dominant today, but, it would have made Mercedes have to think about things a little bit different. But then would Max have got as good a start and jumped Bottas at the start on the medium compounds? Would have been interesting to see from there. What happened to Reynolds' pace? And Ocon was pretty useless this race. I think the race pace was pretty useless. They took a gamble on making both drivers go deep into the race with fresher tyre compounds at the thing, but I suppose maybe we're seeing a reflection of Renault. They tend to do better at the power circuit. So actually expect Renault to do really well in Spa and Monza in the upcoming races, and probably Mugello if that's a power hungry circuit as well. But yeah, Renault's pace was actually pretty disappointing today. And well, actually, other than Carlos Sainz, Norris, Ricciardo and Ocon's pace were all pretty disappointing from that Renault engine. And, you know, it was the AlphaTauris of Gasly and Kvyat that were more impressive. And obviously the Ferrari one stop worked well, and Racing Point comfortably at this stage, obviously with the appeals and everything, looked like it's going to cruise in there. What happened to Haas pace? Decent job in practice, but then it disappeared in qualifying and the race. No idea. Both drivers were speaking optimistically about their race and qualifying pace too, but clearly it just didn't click for whatever reason. And Spain is usually a track where Haas tend to do well, so they will be very disappointed. Go from there. Renault, I definitely expect Ricciardo to be in the top 10 in Spa. Spa, obviously, we've got to remember, I think Monza last year, Renault maybe finished 4th and 5th. I think they did. They're in a straight line speed. I think the Renault definitely has a very good kind of issue on there. But yeah, it's go from there. Ocon had brake issues and the engineers couldn't change it. Okay, fair enough. That's an interesting one, John T. Thanks for picking that up for Esteban. Maybe, you know, a chance not to be too harsh on the bloke. But yeah, no, certainly on that front. Well, I would presume that one of them, Sam, is still live and one of them is in the chat with us, because I imagine that they can both probably operate on the F1 debate show thing from there. I'm not sure. I haven't actually tried on that one. But yes, any other points of discussion for you guys from the Spanish Grand Prix from today's race? I know it'll be interesting to see. I have to say, Stroll is doing a decent job this season. Yes, the car is a lot better, but he's a lot more. Yeah, I think Stroll has proven that he's competent, and if you think Alex Albon's doing a good job this season, and I think you have to say that Lance Stroll is doing a good job this season as well. Yes, Josh, Albon podium at Spa. Oh God, funny on that one. But yes, it's just, yeah, I think Stroll's doing a decent job. He's just solidly performing qualifying. And what I got to say, what a race start that was from Lance Stroll. As much as, oh, oh, that was funny, Sam. Apparently, the F1 debate show was just watching our screen instead of being on their one and not switching it off. And that's because he saw at Josh Rebel's video about him. Absolutely. It's motivating going for it. Just finished it. It's Jordan here too. Just finished there and went to here. Oh, thanks, Jordan. Thanks for jumping in on the chat anyway. Make sure you obviously check out the F1 debate show, boys. Had an interesting, it was Albon in or out, I think, was your video on the F1 debate show yesterday, wasn't it? So make sure you kind of guys go and check that out. It's an interesting discussion. Certainly as things goes. I know Lyle is a big supporter of Albon, or at least for giving Albon time. So it would be an interesting debate on that one. Red Bull did the early first pit stop with Albon to give us fans a good overtaking show. Potentially, David. Go from there. Stroll did a good job going down the inside of Bottas at the start. Very little grip and did a good job controlling the car. That has to be one of Stroll's biggest positives, actually. He's a very good start of a race. And yeah, Max looked like he had the best start. But then when you went on the onboards of Stroll at the start, he flew. And yeah, really impressive. Bottas, you know, left that gap on the inside for him, and just Stroll found a way to squeeze by and then frustrated Bottas for a few laps as well. He did very well in terms of that, and, you know, merited go from there. See you later, Sam. Thanks for joining in the stream. I think it's fair enough, certainly on that front. But yes, guys, I think that probably is, we round up what we're talking about the Spanish Grand Prix from today's race. I think we've probably covered the main points, unless everyone are desperately going from there. Perez is actually no longer a joke in qualifying as well. He's usually within a tenth or so of Perez. absolutely. But I would say only on that front, JB, is that Perez never for me has been a great qualifier. He's been a good qualifier. He's the type of driver that sets his car up for a Sunday, does a decent job on the Saturday, but isn't out the world. So Lance Stroll really should be looking to match or at least beat Sergio Perez in qualifying, because that's certainly an error on that front. But yes, yeah, I think pretty much that probably rounds off the points today, unless obviously, yeah, like I said, there's any last minute points in chat on that front. But a solid race in Spain, one that flattered to deceive. Massive congratulations to Lewis Hamilton, because he's just dominant, killing it. He's in the zone. He just is doing exactly what he needs to do, and massively goes well. Valtteri Bottas, disappointing. Max Verstappen doing all that he really can. Sebastian Vettel, great drive. Sergio Perez, great for going from there. The outer calm down Red Bull a bit. Yeah, that probably ought to, yeah, that ought to calm Red Bull down a bit, definitely. Yeah, I think Mercedes certainly would have put Red Bull back in their place, but we'll see. I still have question marks over the Mercedes reliability through the season, and even at the start of the season, Circuit de Catalunya was always probably heavily going to be a Mercedes stronghold and difficult for, yes, Haley, welcome to chat. And yes, Lewis did win the race. But yeah, Spain was always going to be a difficult one for there. So you can say technically Max Verstappen has done well because he's done damage limitation by coming second in the race. Lewis extends his lead at the top of the championship, but without Lewis really retiring in a race and Max being able to win at a couple more venues, it really does look like it's going from there. Haley, bored of Lewis. Oh dear, he goes from there. But yes, guys, I'll round off today's stream. I know I've said that about 5 million times, as I always do on the live stream. Thank you again so much, everyone in chat, for managing to have a half-hour discussion actually on the what we saw on tracks. David, yeah, I agree that the pit stops were a little bit sloppy for Mercedes, but unfortunately their advantage was so big that they could do that, certainly on that front. But guys, hopefully better racing action in Spa. It is one of the best tracks on the F1 calendar. We've got a week's break now, but don't worry. Obviously, tomorrow we'll be with driver ratings with me and Stephen, race review podcast on Tuesday, and then obviously into our break week content where we'll have a driver rivalries. There's going to be another F1 Worldwide next Saturday, and also should be a video. Actually, we've got to record it, but there should be a video with me and Josh in the next episode of F1 Legacies, and it's a big driver, so hopefully you guys will look forward to and enjoy that next Sunday out at 6 p.m. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for all the chat in there. Really appreciate it as always. Hope you still enjoyed your race weekend. Looking forward to Spa. Enjoy your break week. Hopefully, obviously, you watch the Indy 500 next week. That keeps your racing bug going, certainly in this time. If you can, drop a thumbs up to the stream. Do appreciate that. And if you're new around here, obviously, please subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, thank you for that. Really do appreciate the support. But yes, that's it from me today, guys. So for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.